So if we take a look at our sheet music, at the top in the middle we've got the song titled Blues for Inclusion. And then beneath that we can see it says medium swing. So that's the genre of the piece. We're going to be playing swing. So what I've done is I've tuned my kit up to jazz tuning. So we've got nice high pitches from our toms. Okay, that sort of helps with the authenticity of the genre. Okay, you want to tune your kit up nice and high. And then beside the genre, it says a quarter note equals 108. So that's the tempo of the piece. So we've got a quarter note pulse, and that quarter note pulse is going to be 108 beats per minute. So we're going to hear 108 of those quarter notes every minute. Right, that's the tempo. And then beside that, we've got a little key here. So it says 2/8 notes equal, and then we've got a quarter note triplet and then an eighth note triplet. Okay, so what that means is when we see eighth notes in this piece, obviously normally when we play eighth notes, we play the downbeat and the and, which is the midpoint of the beat. But what this is saying is when you see those 2/8 notes in this piece, you're going to play those eighth notes as the rhythm, a quarter note triplet on the downbeat and an eighth note triplet on the upbeat. So all that means is that and that we normally play in the midpoint of the beat, the second eighth note, we're going to shift it to the ah. Okay, so we're going to play it late. So we're going to delay just that second eighth note on the and. We're always going to play that eighth note on the and on the ah. So we're just going to shift it to the ah. So we're going to play it later. And that's what swing is, right? It's delaying the note to play it later, that upbeat note. Okay, so whenever you see eighth notes in this piece, we're going to play the first eighth note on the downbeat as normal, but the second eighth note on the and is going to be played late on the ah. So we're going to play it on that ah. Okay, so that's what that means, that key. So looking at the piece again, you can see we've got the letter A in a box at the start. So that's just telling us that the first section is section A, right? This is our first section. And then if we look at our first bar of music, so you can see we've got our clef, our percussion clef. Clef just letting us know on the stave we've got drum notation. So obviously we'll always see that when we're reading drum notation. And then beside that we've got the time signature. So we've got 4/4 for this piece, 4 at the top, 4 beats in the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 at the bottom tells you those beats that we're counting are quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your 4 quarter notes in the bar. Okay, so in our first bar of music, we've got a ride cymbal rhythm. So the rhythm is, we've got a quarter note, then eighth notes. Quarter note, then eighth notes. So normally we would count that 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. But because we're swinging the eighth notes in this piece, we'll feel that rhythm as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, Okay, and that's our general swing rhythm that we play a lot on the cymbal. So we're going to play that rhythm on the ride. So first of all, we want to get used to that swing rhythm on the ride cymbal, making sure we're swinging those eighth note upbeats. We're shifting them from the and to later in the beat to the ah. So we got this. Okay, so really get that down. So all I'll do now is I'll just play back to back. Eighth notes not swung, so played normally, and then I'll play eighth notes swung in the next bar. Okay, so I'll give 1 bar of eighth notes not swung, 1 bar of eighth notes swung. So you'll hear the rhythm 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, So back to back it'll be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, Just so you can hear the difference between not swinging and swinging. Okay, so you see, just by swinging those eighth notes, it gives it a completely different feel. Okay, and that's what we need to portray in this piece, a nice swing feel on that ride cymbal. Okay, so get that down. So what we'll do is we'll just try that ride rhythm, first of all, 4 times through. Actually, let's try 8 bars through to really get it down, okay? So let's give that ride cymbal rhythm a go, just getting used to swinging those eighth notes. So you can see the second bar of the piece is the same as the first bar, so we're just playing that swing rhythm twice. Underneath as well, you can see the dynamic that we need to play that at, and that's MF, which is short for mezzo forte, which means half loud. So that's about our normal playing level, okay? So we're just going to play that at our normal playing level. And then if we come into bar 3 on the top line, we've got a quarter note fill. Okay, so we've got first quarter note on snare with a right hand. So you see the sticking is above the note, so we've got R for right hand on the snare, L for the left hand on the small tom, another quarter note, R for the right hand on the floor tom, another quarter note, and L for the left hand on the snare. So we've got quarter notes round the kit. Okay, so we just got 2 toms set up for this this piece because that's all we need. So we don't need a medium tom. So you're just playing 1, 2, 3, and then the 4 back on the snare. So you're starting on the snare and finishing on the snare. Playing single strokes, right, left, right, left. Okay, just round the kit, hitting those downbeats. Let's try that for 4 bars. And then in the next bar, which is the last bar of line 1, you've got the rhythm 1, 2, ah. Okay, so remember on the 2, you've got those 8th notes, but we're swinging the and to play on the ah. So it's 1, 2, ah, rather than 1, 2, and. Okay, 1, 2, ah. So we've got snare on the 1 for a quarter note with the right hand, and then we've got downbeat of 2 with the right hand again on the small tom, and then you're playing this swung 8th note on the snare with the left hand. So you've got 1, 2, ah. Okay, 1, 2, ah. Then you're resting for the 3 and 4, so you've got a half note rest there. Okay, so you're just playing the 1, 2, ah. So let's try that bar now, just get that rhythm down, filling that swung 8th note again on the snare drum on the and of 2. So now we'll put those 2 fill bars together, so bars 3 and 4. So you've got quarter notes around the kit, and then your snare, tom, snare. Okay, so let's get those 2 bars down. And now we'll try to put the whole of line 1 together. So you've got your 2 bars of swing on the ride cymbal, and you've got your 2 bar fill around the kit. So let's try putting those together, and we'll loop the line as well to get a real, hang of going from that swing rhythm on the ride cymbal to the fill. Okay, so we'll loop the line 4 times through. And then on to line 2, you can see in the first 2 bars of line 2, we're playing the same thing that we played in the first 2 bars of line 1. So we're just playing that swing rhythm for 2 bars on the ride cymbal again. So looking at bar 3 of line 2, we've got a fill. It's in 8th notes, so remember, because we're swinging 8th notes, rather than filling the rhythm as evenly spaced 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're going to be feeling the rhythm as swung 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? We can still count those as ands, all right? So obviously we're playing an and, but we're swinging it. So we're playing it in the place the would be, but it's still an and because it's a 8th note upbeat. So we can count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So we can still count it as an and as long as we're playing it later than normal, so we're not playing it in that midpoint, okay? So that bar again will be felt 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's try that bar. So what we got, right hand's playing double strokes on the floor tom. So we got right, right, then we got left, left on snare drum, double strokes again with the left hand, right, right on small tom, left, left on snare. Okay, so the left hand staying on the snare, the right starts on the floor tom and then moves to the small tom. So you've got right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left in those swung eighth notes. Okay, so let's try that bar just to get that rhythm down. So swing those eighth notes and we're playing them as double strokes. And then in the last bar of line 2, we carry on with those eighth note double strokes. So we got right, right on snare, left, left on small tom. Okay, so you got right, right, left, left, and then you got 2 quarter notes. One on the floor tom with the right hand, one on the snare drum with the left hand. So you're going round the kit. So we got right, right, left, left, right, left around the kit. Okay, so we got. Okay, so see that motion just going round the kit. So let's try that. Just that bar, just looping that through 4 times just to get that rhythm down and the sticking. So remember, double strokes for the first 2 beats and then we got right, left for the last 2 beats. And then putting those 2 bars together, so bars 3 and 4 of line 2, so the 2 fill bars of that line. So double strokes in the first bar, carry on with your double strokes into the next bar and then finish with those 2 notes, floor tom, snare. Okay, so the 2 fill bars of line 2, so bars 7 and 8 of the piece. And now we'll try the whole of line 2. So we've got 2 bars of the swing rhythm on the ride cymbal, and then we go into that fill bar, double stroke fill bar. Okay, so let's try that whole line, and again we'll loop the line through 4 times so you get a real hold of the transition between the swing rhythm on the ride and the double stroke fill. And now we come into line 3. So again, the first 2 bars of line 3 are the same as the first 2 bars of the previous 2 lines. Okay, so we just got that swing rhythm on the ride again for 2 bars. So if we look at bar 3 of line 3, we've got another 8th note fill. Okay, so we're swinging the 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's the rhythm of this bar, and what we're playing that rhythm in is paradiddles. Okay, so you got right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So we've got the first paradiddle between the floor tom and the snare. So you've got the first note on the floor tom with the right hand. Then you're playing the left hand on the snare drum, and then the rights come across to play on the snare. So you've got right, left, right, right. So swung, that'd be 1 and 2 and. And then you've got the second paradiddle with the left hand starts, so left lead on the small tom. So left comes up to the small tom, you've got your right on snare, and the left comes down to the snare. So you've got left paradiddle. Okay, so that rhythm will be 3 and 4 and swung again. So putting those 2 halves of the bar together. Okay, so swung 8th note paradiddles. So let's try that one now. We'll loop that bar just to get used to that bar, the rhythm and the rudiment. And then in the last bar of line 3, we've got a single stroke fill in 8th notes for the 1, 2 and 3. So the rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, swung 8th notes. Then we've got a quarter note rest on the 4. So we got 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Okay, and we're playing single strokes like I said, so we've got right hand starting on the small tom, so you've got right and then left on snare, right, left, then the right comes down to the floor tom, and the left goes up to the small tom. So you've got right on floor, left on small tom. So you've got this start. Okay, so you've got this like straight line here between these two drums, the small tom and the snare. And you've got this cross set up here between the floor tom and high tom. Okay, so you want to move that right hand across, left hand up. Okay, so you're moving across that way. So that's the first 4 notes, and then the last 2 are on the snare. Okay, so just playing right, left on the snare. So you've got, and they're continuous swung 8th notes, so 1 and 2 and 3 and. So as single strokes, let's try that bar now just to get used to that rhythm as single strokes. And now putting the 2 bars together, so bars 3 and 4 of line 3. So you've got a bar of paradiddles as swung 8th notes, and a single stroke fill, again as swung 8th notes, resting on that 4th beat. Okay, so those 2 bars, let's try that looped through. And then the whole of line 3, so again just playing 2 bars of that swung ride cymbal rhythm before the 2 bar fill. Okay, so let's try that line 3 looped through again just to get the transition from the ride cymbal rhythm to the fill. So at the end of line 3, you can see we've got a double bar line. So that means we've come to the end of the musical section. So if you look at the next line, you can see we've got a B in a box, that's section B. So before we come into that section, let's try and hook up the whole of section A. So we've got 3 lines. We're just going to try and play all 3 of them consecutively. Okay, so this is tricky. We've got tricky rhythms because we're swinging. Also, we're playing different rudiments and different orchestrations, right? So different parts of the kit. Okay, so spend some time on this, just linking these 3 lines up. So let's try the first 3 lines of the piece, section A. And now we'll try section A with the backing track, okay? So we're going to play it with the music. So if you look at our counting, it says we've got a quarter note on the 1, quarter note rest on 2, quarter note on 3, quarter note rest on 4, and then a bar of quarter notes. So that's the counting you're going to hear before we start playing the track. So you've got 1, rest, 3, rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we start. Okay, so that's your 2 bar counting. And remember, counting doesn't just count you down into the start to start playing. It gives you a chance to feel that tempo. Okay, so really absorb that counting as you hear it, so when you start playing, you play at the right tempo. Okay, so let's try section A with the music. You're going to hear a double bass player, which is really common in this genre of music, and you need to make sure you're really locked in. So those quarter notes on the ride need to be really accurate on those downbeats. And obviously you've got the 8th note swung notes as well that precede the downbeats. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 out of that swing rhythm. Then we're coming off and we're playing a nice fill. We're filling the gap. Okay, so all those fills, you've got to make sure you're playing them nicely, because as the drummer, the emphasis is on you for those bars. Okay, so let's try the whole of section A to the back with the backing track. And now we come into section B. So again, if you look at the first line of section B, so in bars 13 and 14, we've got that same swing rhythm on the ride cymbal that we had in section A. Okay, so if we look at the bars 3 and 4 of that line, we've got a 2-bar fill again. So looking at the first bar of that fill, we've got the rhythm, an 8th note rest on the downbeat and an 8th note on the upbeat. So we're just playing that and. Resting on the downbeat, playing the and. And remember that and is going to be swung. So rather than playing the midpoint of the beat, we're going to delay it and play it on the ah. So that first note in this bar, that's usually on the and, we're going to play late on the ah. So it's on the snare drum with the left hand. So you can see above the notes you've got the L, meaning left hand, and then you've got the R's, L's and R's above the note, just letting you know the sticking for this fill. So you've got a left hand on the snare drum on the upbeat of 1, and then you're playing a downbeat on the snare with the right hand. So you've got 1 and 2, left, right. So remember, a swung 8th note on the left hand, the and. 1. Okay, and then you've got 2 notes on the small tom, again, left, right, but this time they start on the downbeat. So you've got 3 and. Okay, so you've got 3 and on the high tom, so you've got and 2, and then 3 and here. So you've got 1. Okay, same sticking, but you're starting the first rhythm on the snare on the upbeat, and then you're starting the rhythm on the high tom on the downbeat. So this one starts on the and, this one starts on the 3. So remember, the downbeat's the start of the count, which is the number. Okay, so start on the and here, start on the downbeat of 3 here. So that's and 2, 3 and then you've got the and of 4, the upbeat of 4 on the snare. Again, okay, so remember you're delaying, you're swinging that 8th note on the and of 4, so you're playing on the ah. So that whole bar is 1. Okay, so that last note on the and of 4 with the left hand on the snare, and that's going to take us in nicely to the second bar of the fill, which is quarter notes around the kit. So you've got snare with the right hand, high tom with the left hand, low tom with the right hand, and then bass drum, obviously with your right foot. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so first of all, before we put those bars together, we're just going to try the first bar of the fill. So getting that at 2, 3, and getting those swung upbeats where we're resting on the downbeats. Okay, so it's a tricky rhythm, so let's just try just bar 15 now, just loop through to get hold of that rhythm. And then putting the 2 bars together. So you've got that tricky upbeat swung rhythm, and then you've got those nice quarter notes. So remember that at of 4 in the first bar of the fill is going to lead you nicely into those quarter notes around the kit. So you've got this. Okay? So try those 2 bars together back to back. And now the whole of that line to the 2 bars of the swung rhythm on the ride, and then the 2-bar fill. Okay, tricky line because of those swung upbeats on the fill. And then in the next line, you can see again the first 2 bars of the line. We've got the 2-bar swing rhythm. Again, a common theme of this track. And then we've got 2-bar fill again. So looking at the first bar of the fill, we've got a quarter note on the snare. We're going to play that with the left hand. And then we've got 2 notes played together. So the snare and the floor tom, okay, in unison. Make sure they're played at the exact same time. We've got quarter note on 2 with those 2 drums. And then we've got swung 8th notes on the 3, again on those 2 drums. So you've got 1 on the snare, 2 on both drums, and then 3 and on both drums. You've got... And then we've got a quarter note rest on the 4. Okay, so that's that bar. So left, together, together, together. So let's loop that bar through to get hold of that. And then in the next bar of the fill, we've got a quarter note again on those 2 drums, the floor tom and the snare drum. So we've got quarter note on 1, 8th notes on the 2. So remember swinging those 8th notes, 2 and then we've got an upbeat of 3. We're playing the and of 3, swung. So it's 3 and then we've got the 4 as a quarter note on those 2 drums. So all of those notes are played on the floor tom and the snare. We just need to get the rhythm down. So the rhythm is 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. Or counting them as ands, swung ands. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so let's try that bar, just that bar by itself, looped through. And then putting the 2 bars of that fill together, so the collective rhythm of those 2 bars is 1, 2, 3 and rest. 1, 2 and rest and 4. 1, 2, 3 and rest. 1, 2 and rest and 4. Okay, so tricky rhythm again. First note's just on snare and all the other notes are on the floor tom and snare in unison. Okay, so let's try that 2-bar fill, just looped through again, just to get used to the orchestration and also the rhythm. And then the whole of the lines, just putting those 2 bars of swing before that 2-bar fill. Again, we'll loop the line through 4 times. You get a hold of the transition between the ride rhythm and the fill. And then coming into the last line, so again we've got the 2-bar swing rhythm on the ride, so let's look at the 2-bar fill. We've got single strokes, we start on this floor tom, then we've got snare, snare, small tom. So you're coming across here, right? So you got the 8th notes, 1 and 2 and starting on the low tom. Okay, so that's the first 4 notes, and then the next 4 8th notes you got snare, snare, tom, snare. So a bar of swung 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's just get that bar down, so just single strokes, swinging those 8th notes. And the next bar carries on with that fill, so we've got single strokes as 8th notes, snare, tom, snare, snare. So for the first half of the bar, 1 and 2 and. Okay, so that's 1 and 2 and the first half of the bar, and then the rest of the bar is 2 quarter notes on the bass drum. So you just got. So that bar is 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So let's try that bar now looped through. And now we're 2 bars together. So like I said, the first bar of the fill rolls into the next bar of the fill. Okay, so we carry on with those single strokes. So you've got, and then we finish with those quarter notes. Okay, so you've got single strokes there, just going mainly snare drum, but we're going between those 2 pitches, that low pitch of the floor tom and that high pitch of the small tom. Okay, so let's get that bar down, looped through, those 2 bars of the fill. And then playing the swing ride cymbal rhythm before. So 2 bars of swung ride cymbal rhythm, 2 bar fill. So the bottom line of the piece, again, we'll loop the line through 4 times. And that brings us to the end of the piece. You can see we've got that final bar line at the end of the bar we just played. So what we're going to do now is try the whole of section B. So section B starts at bar 13. So we're going to try it from bar 13 to the end of the piece. So again, we've got 3 lines. We've got 2 bars of the swung rhythm on the ride cymbal, and then we've got 2 bar fills. Okay, so let's just make sure we can play those lines consecutively. All right, let's try section B. And now we're going to play section B with the backing track. So remember, we need to lock in with that swung ride cymbal rhythm with a double bass player, and then we've got those fills. So as the drummer, all eyes are on you playing those fills. Just make sure they're neat and tidy. Okay, play them with confidence. Let's try section B with the backing track. So now let's try the whole piece. We're going to try linking up section A and section B. So very similar sections, but just in the second section we've got that rhythm where we're just playing the upbeats. Okay, we've got rest on downbeat and we're playing those swung upbeats. So tricky rhythms, every bar is different, which is why this piece is tricky. Okay, you've got different rudiments being used, different sticking patterns, different orchestrations. So make sure you've got these sections down individually, and now we'll try to put the whole piece together. And now we'll try the whole piece with a backing track. So this is a blues duet between us, the drummer, and a double bass player. So very common with this theme of music, we have to lock in with the bass player. So this is great practice for that. So make sure that swing rhythm on the ride is really locked in with the rhythm that the bass player is playing. And then when you play those fills, make sure we're staying in time and we're complementing the music, okay? We're not playing them really, we're not smashing the drums. This is very delicate, intricate music, okay? So make sure you really portray the feel of the music, all right? Very light and gentle. We're playing the whole piece at mezzo forte. And also, it mentions at the bottom of the music, ride cymbal notes may be played on a rivet cymbal throughout if desired. So what that means is, with a ride cymbal, we can have rivets. So rivets are actually drilled into the cymbal. So we can drill holes into the cymbal and put in rivets. Now what rivets do is they add a sizzle to the sound of the ride cymbal. Okay, and that's very common, again, in this style of music. So if we want that sound, we can either get a ride cymbal that comes with rivets. We can either put rivets in our own cymbal, or we can buy something that replicates the sound that rivets make. Okay, so rivets give the cymbal a nice sizzle sound. Okay, so obviously if we bought another cymbal, that is an expense. If we put rivets into our current cymbal, again, that's an expense, and obviously we're changing the sound of our ride cymbal permanently by doing that. So what a great alternative to do is to get one of these chains. So these chains replicate the sound of a rivet cymbal. So what we do is just take off this, so put your felt beneath the felt, and it just lays across the cymbal like this. So this just gives a nice sizzle sound. So obviously when you hit the cymbal, the vibration is going to make this chain rattle on the cymbal. Okay, so it gives it a bit of a sizzle sound. So it sounds like a cymbal with rivets, but it's an inexpensive way of doing it. So you can pick these up online. So this is called the cymbal bacon by Meinl. Okay, so it's called that because it sounds like bacon sizzling in a pan. All right, so you can get one of these, and obviously then you can take it off when you don't need it. So you can use one of these if you like. You don't have to for this piece. Or if you've got a rivet cymbal, great. You can use that as well. It just gives it a bit more of an authentic sound. So let's try this piece now, the whole piece with the backing track. Lock in with a bass player and just make sure those fills are obviously staying in feel with the music, okay? Nice, blues, chilled, nice and light. Okay, let's give the whole piece a try with the backing track. So looking at the notation of this piece is very straightforward. We've just got quarter notes and eighth notes. But the reason this piece is tricky is because of that swing rhythm, okay? So this style of music in its most basic form, which this is tricky. So you need to spend some time practicing these swing rhythms on the ride cymbal and also on the fills. Don't be impatient with yourself. It's not, although it's basic for this genre of music, this like blues, jazz, swing style music, it's difficult, right? So spend some time practicing these at comfortable tempos for you. We practice them through at song tempo. That's the goal tempo. Start at a nice slow tempo so you can really absorb these rhythms and practice these rhythms comfortably, and then gradually increase the tempo as you get more comfortable with the rhythms. Okay? So spend some time listening to this style of music as well, just so you can kind of get an idea of the kind of sound you need to portray. So like I said, nice high tuned toms really complement these music, and you don't want to play too loudly. Okay, you're playing with acoustic instruments most of the time in this genre. So you need to bring the volume down. Imagine you're playing to a nice kind of dining room of people. Okay, people are eating their dinner and they want to enjoy the background music, nice acoustic, enjoyable music. They don't want a drummer playing really, really loudly. Okay, so really bring the volume down and listen to the bass player. Make sure you're really playing in at the same dynamic as he is or she is, obviously whoever's playing the bass. So just make sure you're doing that as you practice this style as well. Keep it nice and light. Swing that rhythm and enjoy it. It's a great style of music to play. So make sure you remember that, and we'll see you in the next lesson.